Okay, so you've found this amazing tech startup, right? They've got a groundbreaking product, a team that's just raring to go, and a market that's just primed for disruption. This could be the next big thing in B2B. But there's this question in the back of your mind: can they actually sell it? That's what we're going to be diving into today.
Especially, I think, after, we saw the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, demonstrating that you have revenue streams is like more crucial now than ever for startups.
Absolutely. We're going deep on why strong sales skills are completely mission critical for those B2B tech investments. And this is even more true in our current economic climate. And to help us guide this deep dive, we're pulling insights from a discussion between Dr. Ari Masudi, who's a deep tech marketing expert, and Deirdre Slahudafard. He's the founder of the Medic Academy, and he's really built his career around B2B sales success.
One of the things that really stood out to me in this discussion was this idea of the founder's dilemma. And that is that you have these incredible engineers, brilliant scientists that can code miracles, but then when it comes to actually pitching their product, they freeze up.
It's almost ironic that these are the same people who can build these complex systems, but then they kind of stumble when it comes to explaining that value proposition to a potential client.
Yeah.
But is it really that different from selling like a consumer product?
Oh, absolutely. See, selling a B2B solution, it's not like selling a ad where you're tapping into like a basic need. We're not talking about satisfying hunger or thirst. The Source uses this great example of tech innovation. It's a startup and they have this really cool AI-powered supply chain, amazing technology. But their founder, who are engineers, they struggle to really connect the dots for these enterprise clients. They couldn't translate their innovation into a compelling business. Their pitches were getting lost in the weeds.
I see what you're saying. So it's more than just like a good product demo. It's really about understanding a business's pain point and positioning your solution to them strategically.
Exactly. And the example of Palantir Technologies really brings this home. I mean, they're selling multi-million-dollar data analytics platforms. It's not like an impulse buy. Their success, and I think the success of a lot of companies in the B2B space, comes from mastering this complex sales landscape, not just having brilliant technology.
So what makes B2B sales so different? Why do those consumer instincts that we all have sort of fall short in this arena?
Well, the Source kind of breaks it down into a few key factors. First, you have multiple decision makers within an organization, and they all have different priorities. Second, B2B sales cycles, they're notoriously long. We're talking months or even years. Third, a lot of solutions require customization to fit a client's specific need, which means you have to really understand their business, not just your product. And then finally, the stakes are just higher. These are big investments, so there's a lot more scrutiny.
So you're saying it's not enough to just be charismatic or like a smooth talker. You need a more strategic, almost like a consultative approach.
Exactly. And it's really interesting how the Source brings in this concept of Maslow's hierarchy for businesses. They're saying just like individuals, businesses have a hierarchy of needs too. At the base level, you've got solutions for, those basic operational needs. But then as you move up the hierarchy, it gets more complex. Things like advanced analytics, AI solutions, the kinds of things that your portfolio companies are probably developing.
That's fascinating. So how does that hierarchy play into sales? Can you give me an example?
Sure. They use the case study of CloudSecure. It was a cybersecurity startup founded by these cryptography experts. Initially, they had a lot of trouble selling their solution because they were pitching it on a purely technical level. They talk about encryption algorithms and firewalls, but they weren't really speaking to those higher level needs, the anxieties that executives have about data breaches and reputational damage.
So they were stuck at the bottom of the hierarchy, so to speak.
Right. It wasn't until they actually got some B2B sales training that they learned to position their solution as a way to address those higher level concerns. Things like risk mitigation and strategic advantage. And you know what? Their sales skyrocketed.
It makes you wonder, is sales something you can actually learn, or are some people just natural at it?
That's a really common misconception, but the Source is very clear on this. B2B sales, especially in this complex tech world, it's a skill. It's not some innate talent you're born with. It requires understanding this complex buyer psychology, navigating those tricky decision-making hierarchies, and becoming fluent in negotiation and sophisticated communication. It's a lot more than just being a smooth talker.
So it sounds like this myth of the born salesperson is exactly that, a myth. But you know what? This actually makes me feel even more optimistic. Because if it's a learnable skill, that means that we can equip these brilliant founders with the tools they need to succeed. And this is where your perspective as a VC gets really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. The Source really positions B2B sales training as a strategic lever is a way to actually add value to your portfolio. It's not just about writing checks. It's about helping these startups become revenue generating.
Okay, I'm sold on the why, but let's talk about the how. What are the tangible benefits of investing in sales training for these B2B tech startups?
Well, the most immediate benefit is you're going to see accelerated revenue growth. A well-trained sales team can identify those qualified leads more effectively. They can navigate those long and complex sales cycles and ultimately close deals faster. And all of that translates into a much quicker path path to profitability. And that's music to any investor's ears, right?
Exactly. That's what we want to see as VCs. We want to see that a startup can generate revenue and that the product has real market demand. But I'm guessing that the benefits go beyond just the immediate bottom line.
Right. You know that strong sales performance, having a clear sales strategy, and a history of that consistent revenue growth. All of that boosts a company's valuation, and that can be huge in subsequent funding rounds. It benefits both the startup and its investors.
So it's about building a more attractive company in the long run, not just chasing the short. And that's something we as VCs are always looking for. But what other benefits stood out to you?
Well, one that often gets overlooked is reduced cash burn. A well-oiled sales process can actually help startups become more efficient with their resource. They can close deals faster, optimize their sales efforts, and ultimately they're relying less on constant fundraising, and they can stretch their runway further.
That's crucial, especially now when fundraising has become more challenging. It's about building that resilience and creating a sustainable path to profitability, something I think all VCs are emphasizing with their portfolio companies these days.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the impact on market positioning. A skilled sales team can effectively communicate a company's unique value prop, and that really differentiates them from the competition. You're going to see stronger brand recognition, increased market share, and ultimately a more competitive.
Okay, so investing in B2B sales training is clearly beneficial, but it's one thing for us to understand it, and another thing for those brilliant tech-focused founders to actually embrace it. So how can we as VCs, how can we champion this within our portfolio company? How do we get them on board?
Well, I think it starts with education and awareness. Sharing the insights that were discussed today, sharing data, sharing success stories, and really helping them see sales as a strategic driver of growth, not just something you tack on as an afterthought.
It's about shifting that mindset, seeing sales as an integral part of the business from day one. And I think leading by example is important too. If we as VCs are actively encouraging and supporting sales training initiatives, it sends a powerful message.
Right. And, connecting portfolio companies with experienced sales mentors or advisors, that can be really invaluable. Think about seasoned sales executives leading workshops, offering one-on-one coaching, or even setting up peer-to-peer learning sessions.
It's about creating this culture of continuous learning and improvement, where sales is an ongoing process of refinement and optimization. But it's 2024. We can't forget about the power of data.
Oh, absolutely. Encourage your portfolio companies to actually track those key sales metrics, analyze their performance, and then use those data-driven insights to inform their strategy. CRM systems, sales analytics tools, clear KPIs, all of that helps move beyond gut feelings and towards a data-driven approach to sales.
So taking the guesswork out of it, really understanding what's working and what's not.
Exactly. And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. The most effective B2B sales training is customized, taking into account the company's industry, product, complexity, target market.
Finding the right fit for their unique needs and goals. But what about after the training? This can't just be a one-time thing, right?
You're hitting on a crucial point. Sales is constantly evolving, so ongoing coaching and support are essential, even for experienced salespeople. Encourage your portfolio companies to invest in regular coaching workshops or online training. It's really about staying sharp.
Building that culture of continuous learning within the sales team, always adapting and improving. This has been eye-opening. Before we wrap up, what's one key takeaway you want our VC listeners to walk away with today?
Well, the message is clear. Investing in B2B sales training is not just a nice to have. It's a game changer for your portfolio companies. It's about helping them build those high-performing sales teams and really creating that culture of sales excellence. That ultimately drives growth and success.
It's a reminder that sales isn't just a department. It's the engine that drives the whole business.
And it really does pay off. Speaking of paying off, before the break, we were talking about how VCs can champion sales training, but I think it helps to bring this to life with some real-world examples. To see how specialized B2B sales training has really transformed a startup. Remember Biotech Innovations, the company with that personalized medicine solution that was really game-changing. They were really hitting a wall trying to convert hospitals into customers.
Yes, they had the scientific breakthrough, but they couldn't quite crack the code of healthcare sales. What were they missing?
Well, their initial approach was all about the science, like the what of their solution. They were so focused on all the technical details that they weren't really addressing the why for the hospitals. They needed to understand, the hospital's pain points, their budgetary constraints, and how the solution could actually improve patient outcome and make their operations smoother.
Yeah, it sounds like they were missing that crucial customer-centric approach, which is really essential in B2B sales.
Exactly, and that's precisely what they gained from specialized B2B healthcare sales training. They learned to speak the language of hospital administrators, understand their priority, and tailor their pitch accordingly. They learned how to navigate those really complex procurement processes, build relationships with those key decision makers, and demonstrate the value of their solution in a way that really resonated with that specific audience.
So it wasn't about learning these generic sales techniques. It was about gaining that industry-specific expertise, understanding the unique dynamics of selling to hospitals.
Exactly. And the results really speak for themselves. After investing in that training, they secured contracts with 3 major hospital networks within just 1 quarter. That's the kind of impact the right sales approach can have.
That's a powerful example. It really highlights how B2B sales training can be tailored to specific industries, even specific types of companies within those industries. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right. And here's another key takeaway. Effective B2B sales training goes beyond teaching techniques or handing out scripts. It's about developing a deep understanding of the customers, their motivations, and their decision-making process. It's about building those relationships, earning trust, becoming a valuable partner, not just another vendor. Remember that Maslow's hierarchy for business we talked about?
Right, where companies have different levels of needs just like people do.
Exactly. Let's think back to Cloud Secure, that cybersecurity startup we talked about with the cryptography experts. Their initial challenge was moving beyond selling those basic security features and really communicating how their solution addressed those higher level needs, like risk mitigation and strategic advantage.
So they needed to elevate their pitch to really resonate with those C-suite executives who are making those big decisions about cybersecurity.
You got it. Through B2B sales training, they learned to frame their value proposition in a way that resonated with those executives. They learned how to quantify the potential cost of security breach, the reputational damage that can happen, and how their solution could proactively mitigate those risks. They went from selling features to selling outcomes. They were selling peace of mind.
It's amazing how a shift in perspective can make such a difference. And their sales increased by 300% in just 6 months, right?
That's right. You know, these examples really highlight the transformative power of B2B sales training. When it's done right, it's not just about closing deals, it's about developing a sales mindset, a customer-centric approach that really permeates the entire organization.
And that's something you can't put a price tag on. So as we wrap up this deep dive into B2B sales training, what's the key takeaway you want our listeners, those savvy VCs, to walk away with today?
The message is crystal clear. Investing in B2B sales training for your portfolio companies is a game changer, especially in today's economic climate. It's about empowering your founders to become sales leaders, to build those high-performing sales, and create a culture of sales excellence that drives that sustainable growth.
It's a reminder that sales isn't just a department. It's the engine that can truly propel these businesses to success. And as the B2B landscape continues to evolve and become even more competitive, how can VCs help their portfolio companies find that cutting edge in sales training? That's something to think about as you consider your next investment.
Absolutely. Think of it this way. You're not just investing in a product or a team, you're investing in the future of companies. And by equipping them with the right sales skills and strategies, you're giving them the tools they need to navigate any challenge and achieve some pretty extraordinary things.
It's about helping them transform from those brilliant tech minds into unstoppable sales machines, driving their businesses and your investments to new heights.
It's not just a department, it's really the engine that held these businesses to success.
And as the B2B landscape continues to evolve and is becoming even more competitive, I'm curious, how can VCs help their portfolio find that cutting edge in sales training? What are some things that they should be thinking about as they consider their next investment?
That's a great question. You know, I think it's important to remember that the most effective B2B sales training, it goes beyond just teaching those techniques or handing out scripts. It's about developing a deeper understanding of the customer's need, their motivation, and their decision-making process. It's about building those earning that trust, and really becoming a valuable partner, not just another vendor. Remember that Maslow's hierarchy of businesses we talked about?
Right, where companies have different levels of needs.
Yeah. So let's think back to Cloud Secure. That cybersecurity startup with the cryptography experts, their initial challenge was moving beyond selling those basic security features and really communicating how their solution addressed those higher level needs, like risk mitigation and strategic advantage.
So they needed to elevate their pitch to resonate with those C-suite executives who are ultimately making those big decisions about cybersecurity investments.
You got it. Through B2B sales training, they were able to frame their value prop in a way that resonated with those executives. They learned how to actually quantify the potential cost security breaches, the reputational damage that could happen, and how their solution could proactively mitigate risk. They went from selling features to selling outcomes, selling peace of mind.
And it worked. Their sales increased by 300% in just 6 months.
And I think these examples really highlight the transformative power of B2B sales training when it's done right. It's not just about closing deals. It's about developing that sales mindset, a customer-centric approach that permeates the entire organization.
And that's something you can't really put a price tag on. So as we wrap up this deep dive into B2B sales training, what's the key takeaway you want our listeners, those savvy VCs, to walk away with today?
Well, I think the message is crystal clear. Investing in B2B sales training for your portfolio companies, it's a game changer, especially in today's economic climate. It's about empowering your founders to become those sales leaders, to build high-performing sales teams, and create a culture of sales excellence that drives that sustainable growth.
That's a reminder that sales isn't just a department. It's an engine that can really propel these businesses to success.
And I think as VCs, you're not just investing in a product or a team, you're investing in the future of these companies. And by equipping them with the right sales skills and strategies, you're giving them the tools they need to navigate any challenge and achieve extraordinary things.
It's about helping them transform from those brilliant tech minds into unstoppable sales machines, driving their businesses and your investments to new heights.